All right, you guys ready?
Yeah. Always.
Yeah? All right. Let's bring this meeting to order.
Okay, welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired live on our local cable television station, QACTV 7. This media broadcast provides county citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled public sessions. In addition to our live audience this evening, we are providing remote options for citizens to watch and participate in county commissioner meetings. Citizens may watch our meeting live on our website at qac.org/live or on our television channel, Breezeline Channel 7 and High Definition Channel 507. Citizens can also participate by joining the live Zoom meeting by going to qac.org/public comment, and citizens may also email comments to publiccomment@qac.org. Comments received will be summarized during the press and public comment period on this evening's agenda. We acknowledge your participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. Press and public comment will be taken, and it's limited to 3 minutes per person. If you care to speak, please sign the sheet on the information table in our lobby. Comments longer than 3 minutes then can be submitted in writing for the Commissioner's review. We will now stand and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission President Jim Moran.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Folks, if we could please remain standing for a moment of silence to extend our thoughts and prayers to the Centerville police officer who passed this week and his family. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to today's agenda. So our agenda for today's meeting, May 23rd, along with the regular minutes, the closed session minutes, and the Sanitary Commission minutes from our May 9th meeting have all been circulated for review. Do we have any additions and or corrections?
Do we want to do closed session results first?
I'll do that next.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I want to make a motion to amend the agenda to include one additional proclamation as a desk item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Make a motion to accept the agenda as amended and all meetings as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. All right, we just held a closed session under the General Provisions Article, Section 3305B1, to discuss boards and commissions, and Article 3305B3 to discuss land acquisition. So I believe we have a few appointments that we wish to announce for boards and commissions. First up, we had the Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board.
I move to appoint Randy Hutton to fill the vacancy on the Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board. This term will expire June 30th, 2028.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Okay, next up, we have the Bay Bridge Airport Advisory Committee.
I move to reappoint Jason Jarvie and John Friel and add Mr. Paul White to fill the vacancies on the Bay Bridge Airport Advisory Committee. These terms will expire on June 30th of 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this topic? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Okay, and the third board we have is the Property Tax Assessment Appeals Board.
I move to recommend to the State of Maryland that Mark Casher be reappointed to the Property Tax Assessment Appeals Board. This term would expire June 1st, 2028.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion here? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Then relative to the land acquisition, we do have a purchase agreement from Kent Island Self-Storage available for consideration today. This is for 0.545 of an acre, so just over half of an acre for $50,000. And this will be part of the extension of the South Island Trail across from Mowbray Park up towards the Target Shopping Center.
I move to execute the purchase contract agreement with Kent Island Self-Storage LLC in the amount of $50,000 for the South Island Trail Extension.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Great, thank you, Commissioners. That's all we had under the closed session topics. We can move into press and public comment, part one. So I'll read this statement. Thank you for taking the time to express your views to the County Commissioners.
Signed up.
Comments or?
Yeah.
Nobody?
Yeah, no one signed up, no
Okay.
one online, but we did have an email.
All right.
Ready?
Sure,
Yep.
we can do that.
This comes from Marilyn Schuler. I just want to commend whoever is responsible for enhancing Kent Island. What a pleasure to bike over the small bridge at the Narrows and see all the plantings that have replaced the growth on the slope leading down to the parking area. And then there's the clearing out at Mattapique Park up above the beach so that those who can't make it down there to the water can take in the gorgeous view. It was hidden by undergrowth for years, but now, ta-da. The setting along the trail in the Love Point Park as a reminder of opioids isn't brand new, but it is another lovely spot, and there are probably others I haven't noticed yet. Thanks to all those who brought this about. It's uplifting to see all this beauty and know that our county cares.
You're welcome. All righty.
Excellent.
Did you send that?
Did you? I think Commissioner Moran sent that under a pen.
That's right.
They got a pen name or whatever?
Dear
I'm
Jim.
not that smart.
Yes, Commissioner Moran.
Was she alluding to that that's a place for opioids? Did I misunderstand that?
No, she said she liked it. It was the flowers and the plants. That's all.
The orchids, okay.
Okay, all right. All right, Commissioners, we're right on schedule. Our first presenter is here, so I would like to introduce and welcome Ms. Catherine Dilley, the Executive Director of the Midshore Behavioral Health. She is here with a colleague of hers, so come on up. You can introduce your colleague and proceed with your presentation. The presentation sections are under tab 6, item I. Do we have a visual for this one or no? Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. We have it in,
Emailed the presentation, just the packet of information.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we did get that. I have that.
Packets in your book,
Yeah, we don't have any,
that's fine.
okay. Well, good evening, and thank you for having us. My name is Katie Dilley, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Director at Midshore Behavioral Health. And with me this evening,
Sarah Fagan. I'm a behavioral health coordinator for children, adolescents, and young adults at Midshore.
and Sarah is also responsible for Queen Anne's County as her primary county of responsibility.
Very
As
good.
part of her role. So I will start with just some overview and highlights from the year of the organization as a whole, and Sarah will close us out today with just some Queen Anne's County specific updates. We also are hoping this evening that you will consider endorsing Midshore Behavioral Health to continue to serve as your core service agency in fiscal year '24. So I know I've included in the packet today the letter of agreement. So we appreciate your endorsement and support in the coming year. We also are excited to finally get back on track with presenting in front of you during the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. The last couple of years with COVID threw the schedule off, so here we are back on track, and we're grateful for that. So the mission at Midshore Behavioral Health is to continually improve the provision of behavioral health services for the residents of Caroline, Dorchester, Kent, Queen Anne's, and Talbot counties through effective coordination of care and collaboration with our consumers, their natural support systems, our provider networks, and our community members at large. The vision of Midshore Behavioral Health is a rural behavioral health care delivery system that is both clinically and culturally competent. The system will ensure access, have a community focus, be cost-effective, and be integrated to serve the community as a whole. So a couple of highlights. I know we've offered several in the packet this evening just to bring to your awareness from this past year. I know we have been reporting out on this since fiscal year 2021, but Midshore Behavioral Health, in collaboration with our 5 health departments here in the region who serve in the local addiction authority capacity, have been intentionally working and planning around the behavioral health needs of the community as a combined group that we refer to as the Midshore Planning Collaborative in a formal fashion since 2021. That is in an effort to continually move towards potentially a regional local behavioral health authority structure. And that's something that we are planning with our local addiction authority leadership as well as the health officers in the region. So I know that Dr. Ciatola and Edwin Gibbs are very active in that planning process. And we're hoping in the next couple of years, especially now with under our new administration, there might be some more momentum around what that structure will look like. So we will be happy to come back and present on that in more detail if we make any formal agreements to move forward with that. We have been working ever since the closure of Upper Shore to build our crisis system on the Eastern Shore. This past year, we have added a new layer of that service to support our child and adolescent population in a more intentional fashion through the mobile response and stabilization services component that our crisis vendor, affiliated Sante Group, has provided to the region. Queen Anne's County is one of the first counties that rolled out formally with this program. And they actually, I think, are at capacity currently and with a waiting list serving families here in the community. Both Kent and Queen Anne's counties, I believe, have a full caseload at this point. And this is in collaboration with our schools as well as Department of Social Services, trying to help get ahead of the crisis or the need for the youth, but working with the whole family unit. And it's not just in response to an incident, it's really to get ahead of the behavioral health needs of these children. So it's been very successful. We're working with the Behavioral Health Administration to secure funding to provide this service in all 9 of the counties on the Eastern Shore. And we're hoping to be able to add a couple on in this coming fiscal year down on the Lower Shore. We have continued to secure and procure funding for the State Opioid Response Grant, which serves and provides a lot of additional funds in the region to particularly support our individuals facing opioid misuse as well as stimulant misuse. The federal government added that as a allowable population to receive funding through this grant. So one of the most notable resources that we've supported through this grant are the 12 crisis beds up at the A.F. Whitsitt Center in Chestertown to support individuals that are in need of crisis substance use services. So since they're grant-based, it does not require anyone to provide insurance information. It's open to the general public regardless of your insurance type, which has been a great resource, and we continue to hope to see that grow and be supported through future grant funding. We are anticipating rolling out 2 new suicide prevention initiatives in the region in FY24. One will be particularly focused on working with addressing firearms and gun safety, with working with our law enforcement and first responder population, as well as any individual in the community that receives a mobile crisis response will have, if they identify that there's a firearm in the home, we will be leaving behind gun locks for those crisis calls as an incentive to hopefully provide a safer environment in the home and keep any firearms secure in the households. We also will be adding this component into our crisis intervention team training with law enforcement, providing gun locks at those trainings as well to be distributed with our law enforcement officers when they do any leave behind or response to a household.
So could you elaborate a little bit more in detail about that particular program? Like, for an example?
So we're hoping with grant dollars, we'll be purchasing a substantial amount of gun locks that go into the trigger area of the gun. And there's studies that have shown that the delayed response or need to unsecure the firearm can actually be a moment in time when someone who's contemplating using a gun to end their life may have a moment to take a pause and reflect. And it's also just to keep the firearms more secure in households that have at-risk individuals.
Okay, so how do we identify who is going to receive the gun locks?
But we're going to be providing the gun locks to our crisis responders.
Okay,
So individuals that have mobile crisis come to their home
Okay.
or are received wherever they are in the community, if they identify that they have a firearm in the household, that is something that will be left behind as a
Okay.
complimentary part of the visit.
So I don't think we have to pay for
EMTs
them.
mainly.
No, we're not, you know, we have a grant secured to pay for
Oh, I was
this.
gonna say, I think you can
Oh,
get
no,
them free without any
oh,
grant
no,
money.
no. This is all part of a grant initiative that we've secured.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, manufacturers will give them away. If you get a hold of different Ruger, things like that, they actually give them out.
Well, that's good to know. But this is just one new incentive that we're trying to roll out.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So we're also going to be providing some of those for our law enforcement officers as well to leave behind.
Including EMTs and,
Well, we're starting small to try to identify the reach, and then we're going to have to secure some more funding. So EMTs would also be a group that we're happy to entertain. I think our primary focus is with our CIT-trained law enforcement officers to be an avenue to distribute those, and then our crisis provider. At least that's for this first wave of it. An additional suicide prevention initiative that we're working on is we've identified a partner in the region that's willing to start a midshore suicide prevention coalition. There's a very active lower shore coalition. Unfortunately, we haven't had one. And we're going to be working with that provider to bring up that group in this fiscal year, and then hopefully that will be sustained in the future. And that's very small grant dollars attached to it. It's more just a sort of a at-will and an advocacy and, a passion project for this organization. So we're looking forward to supporting that as well.
Jack and I, Commissioner and I went to a Chamber of Commerce mixer last year.
At the college.
And, no, it was at the Narrows, and a gentleman who started a suicide prevention organization approached me. I have his information, I'll share it with you.
Sure, that'd be great. We have a couple of our partners in the lower shore that have been successful with rolling out their coalition that are going to be providing some technical assistance to us too. So any information you have would be appreciated.
Another question on it, we talk about the gun locks and all, and obviously one of the other leading causes of suicide is overdoses of some type. I've never heard, do they have a medical prescription lockbox that parents could have?
Oh, yeah.
Because I've never heard of them giving those out.
We have lock boxes that we do give out. Those
Okay.
are already something that we've provided to the community. And have been proven.
Have you guys ever heard of
That's
them?
actually an interesting point.
People asking about those?
It's
I mean,
not like Walmart sells those, so I didn't even know.
They do have them.
Where do you
I
get-
mean,
where-
We have there's an online vendor that we've used before to order them. And a lot of the coalitions in the region have provided them. We can purchase them. We've had them on our tabling events and so forth. And the health departments also have purchased them as part of their prevention initiatives.
So for the sake of those that are watching, a mom that's got, concerns, who would they reach out to?
They can call us,
And your number is?
410-770-4801.
Thank you.
Yes, we're always happy to
Are you
help.
familiar with them, Jim? Through the GFC, do they push anything out like that with them?
The Drug-Free Coalition?
Yeah.
They're aware of them.
Right.
I don't know if I know the health department has lock boxes that they've pushed out in the community, and we're working with them I know there's an initiative around opioid and overdose intervention kits being put in businesses that have had incidents. That's something they're going to be rolling out, but
Having the locks on there.
yeah. Mhm. So that's an initiative that the local Drug and Alcohol Abuse Council and the Drug-Free Coalition have been working together on, so we're excited about that. Yeah. I know several of you have been very active and involved with efforts out of our behavioral health coalition here on the Eastern Shore, in particular the advocacy that we've done for the last several years for the sustainability of the A.F. Whitsitt Center, and I just want to express our gratitude for your support in that process. and look forward to our continued strategic planning in the future on what we can do to support that facility and perhaps extension of services located there. So just want to take some time to thank you all for that support. One thing that I know I've reported out on a couple times in previous meetings is we do support out of Mitchell Behavioral Health the Bay Bridge Partnership, which I've shared with you a couple of times in most recent fiscal years, but we have a coalition in the state that started in August of 2020, just looking at how we can address suicide incidents on the bridge. So there are leadership from both Queen Anne's County and Anne Arundel County, as well as the state and the Maryland Department of Transportation Authority, law enforcement, Behavioral Health Administration, our supporters through our Veterans Network, NAMI, several groups that have been added on to the partnership over the years, and we're working with our crisis vendor on the Eastern Shore as well as Anne Arundel County to develop a protocol that will be available to support any response to an incident on the bridge. So we're hoping to be able to roll that out in the next fiscal year, which has been great. And I know that the Queen Anne's County law enforcement officers have been absolutely amazing to work with, and in collaboration with Anne Arundel and state police. Anytime those incidents occur, there's been a lot of cross communication and connection that's happened. So we've seen good results with at least opening up lines of communication.
So this protocol, is it being written? So it's not completed yet, or?
It's not completed.
Okay,
no.
so it's, all the players are
Yes,
bringing in
contributing
ideas.
to that,
Some of
yeah.
the challenges that they face and how those challenges can be addressed. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, what's been really neat about the partnership in the bridge is that the bridge really has been a resource to inform how crisis services should be structured across the state, not just in one jurisdiction. So we're really using it as an opportunity to look at where our gaps in services are, and just establishing open lines of correspondence has been extremely beneficial. Especially a lot of times individuals that find themselves on the bridge don't live in Queen Anne's County or the Eastern Shore or Anne Arundel. I mean, they're coming from other places, sadly. So looking at how we can make sure that those individuals and their families and support networks are supported in their own jurisdictions has been a nice thing to look at as well. So we're not just addressing it at the time that it's happening. We're following cases and families and support parties after the fact as well. We were highlighted, this relationship and partnership was actually highlighted in a Washington Post article on September 18th of 2022, and I'm happy to provide the link if you all are interested in reading more about it. It got quite a bit of attention just around the ingenuity of partners in the state looking at how we can support folks in crisis. So
Has there ever been any research on putting nets,
yes, there's a lot of research.
and what's the hesitation?
I think the biggest
don't-
problem is, honestly, Patrick.
It's infrastructure
is
and-
not only that, the construction that goes on there daily, it would be it'd be prohibitive for them, they have to move them every day with the way they get on. and
Right, I
access
mean,
the
and
bridge
that's,
right now.
structural discussions have come up a lot, just in
believe it.
terms of, the telephones on the bridge and signage on the bridge. And so all those conversations have happened, and unfortunately, it's bigger than someone at my office to make those decisions on what needs to happen, but it is an area to look at. The netting has been successful in other areas, but I don't necessarily know if it's a one-size-fits-all fix. We're really looking at how we can get upstream and trying to create better systems and community response so folks don't end up in that situation. But of course,
There are bridges in Philadelphia and New York that have concave fences, so they literally cannot crawl up it.
Right.
The problem with that, I understand, is maintenance. So it would have to be able to be moved relatively quickly.
right. And, I think it's an area that I don't personally have the influence around, but I
Sure.
think it's worth a conversation. And if any of you are ever interested in sitting in and listening on one of our partnership calls, I'd be happy to invite you. And just lastly, you know, like with any systems management responsibility, we had a large provider in our region close this year. Eastern Shore Psychological Services closed their doors on September 9th, 2022. They were a vendor that provided services to about 2,200 individuals here on the Eastern Shore, which
Why'd
is
they close?
substantial. Several reasons. I think there were just concerns around sustainability as an organization.
Really?
So, and a lot of factors that played into their ability just to maintain operations.
Wow.
So,
For funding purposes, for funding?
yes, primarily, yes. So, very unfortunate, but that is something that when any provider transitions of any size, but of course, that size, it falls in our lap to help transition and make sure that the closure follows the regulatory expectations in COMAR, but it's also our responsibility to find those clients new service homes, as well as the employees that were working for that organization. And so it was not just our organization, it was sort of an all hands on deck, 9 counties, all health officers, all local behavioral health authority project to help support that transition.
And that was a private sector business, that was,
Yeah, they're a for-profit, private organization.
Did they just did they completely go out of business, or
They completely closed.
All of them.
Yeah, so, and they were a provider for over 20 years on the shore, so it's an extreme loss. I will say, to the compliment of our network that we have, they stepped up beyond what we would have ever expected them to absorb clients and grow and bring on clinicians moving out of that organization. And we have 1 or 2 very large groups that have established services on the Western Shore that have since started to take up shop in the locations that Eastern Shore Psychological Services were in. So the primary location in the Midshore is in Easton. Their headquarters have been out of Salisbury. But we've seen some new faces come to the table that are willing to be integrated providers, looking at medication-assisted treatment. Another population that was served by that organization was our sex offender population, which can be complicated to find an adequate provider home for. So there's an organization that's considering taking that population on as well. So we're relieved for that, but as you can imagine, when anything like that comes up, it really disrupts the services. And if you're someone who's been served by the same organization for several years, can be,
having to make that change.
having to make the change can be borderline almost traumatic, just to
Yeah,
have to move away from
I can
who
imagine.
has kept you stable for so long. So the work is good, we're busy, we're growing, there's a lot of opportunity on the horizon with some new funding coming. So we might be back here before too long just to talk to you about that. But we appreciate the opportunity to give you our annual highlights. And now I will let Sarah share some Queen Anne specific things before we close.
Alrighty, so Midshore Behavioral Health continues to support Crossroads Community in their Healthy Transitions program, which is now on year 5 of the SAMHSA grant. The program serves youth between the ages 16 and 25 who have a serious mental health condition, and the program provides the transitional age youth with programming like supported employment, supported education, social skills, etc. And then Katie already sort of talked about the mobile crisis, but this explains it a little bit more. So the affiliated Sante group has expanded the mobile crisis stabilization services, or MRSS, and Queen Anne's and Kent were one of the first, and they're pretty much full. But this service provides a dedicated team out of the Centerville office specifically serving youth and their families in responding to crisis and providing stabilization tools as they work with the family for 8 weeks. So the team that comes out to these calls is a clinician and a family peer support person, and the goal is to intervene before the crisis, to break the cycle of the crisis with the youth and provide tools to stabilize the youth and the families.
And at minimum, they stay in contact for 8 weeks. Okay.
Weekly?
Oh, it was more, I think.
It might be more, that one's
It's at
more.
least a
This
couple
program's
times.
more.
Yeah.
the stabilization one, because we have mobile crisis. I don't know what the actual term is for the other one, but that's weekly, I think, the child and adolescent one. There's like another.
No, this program is multiple encounters during the week.
Okay.
That's part of the fidelity model. It's a requirement for them to have multiple visits.
And then Katie, MSBH Executive Director, serves as Queen Anne's County Local Management Board Treasurer from 2019 until the present. And Queen Anne's County Local Management Board was also awarded an additional $10,000 for their transportation voucher program. So that was awesome. Midshore also works closely in collaboration with Queen Anne's County Local Addiction Authority leadership with planning and monitoring behavioral health providers and system needs in the county. And then last Thursday, Charlie Applestein provided a training at Chesapeake College. It's called No Such Thing as a Bad Kid Training, and it was an awesome turnout. And it was presented by Kent, Queen Anne's, Talbot, Caroline, Dorchester, Cecil County, and Midshore Behavioral Health.
And we also serve on your opioid fatality review board. And then in July, I'll be moving into the chair role for the LMB, which I think Mike Clark already had shared that with you all.
Okay.
And just a couple of statistics of individuals served in our public behavioral health system here in the county.
So the total number of mental health consumers served in fiscal year 22 was 1,422. And then the total number of substance abuse disorder consumers served in fiscal year 22 was 723 in Queen Anne's County.
That's all we have today.
Going to make a motion to sign the Core Service Agency Letter of Agreement with the Midshore Behavioral Health for the fiscal year 2024. Have Commissioner Moran sign it.
Second?
A motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Can I ask two questions before you leave? So for the folks that are watching that might need some information, if mom or dad takes their adolescent to the emergency room because they're concerned of self-harm, et cetera, does the case manager, the head nurse, the ER doctor, do they let them know of your program?
That's kind of what's going to
Grayson-
be my question. How do we,
Graysonville or Chestertown or Easton, do they know it?
Definitely provide our information and typically if you're presenting in one of the shore regional institutions, you will be seen by a member of their behavioral health response team, which is very aware of our organization. In addition to providing Midshore Behavioral Health contact information, they most likely are also giving out the Eastern Shore Crisis Response information, which is our affiliated Sante Group provider for the region, and their hotline number.
So the case manager gives that or the social worker?
I don't work for the hospital, but when I did work in a hospital as a social worker, clinical social worker, typically it would be someone like myself. Ideally, case managers and nurses and social workers would be doing the same, but the BERT team who would be responsible for assessing that individual. If they're showing up in an emergency department with a behavioral health need or as suicidal, one of those team members is going to be responsible to make contact with that family and that child before they leave the hospital. So that's technically probably the most, that would be the point of contact that would be providing those resources. But on any given day, I can't assure you that it's
going to actually
going to happen. So we don't have full control over how that goes, but we certainly provide our materials to the hospital and they're very aware. I mean, we meet with the hospital on a routine basis to talk about complex individuals that have arrived on an emergency petition. And we help kind of staff those cases and follow them and help do resource navigation. But it's not a perfect system, unfortunately.
and but you do work well with the law enforcement here in the county?
Oh, absolutely.
For those petitions. I mean, they're
Right,
right
well,
on
the
it.
law enforcement has a very strong relationship with our crisis provider, who we oversee. We're the grantor of the crisis funding on the shore. So we work with Affiliated Sante very closely, and they meet with us every other week to talk about cases and any developments that need to be kind of elevated to a more integrated, complex case management approach. But we certainly hope that, I mean, like I said, that BRIT team is critical. And they are the responsible party for providing resources in the hospital.
Very good.
And you had another question? You said you had 2 questions.
Stabilization program, does that go hand, so if they're in a PHP program or an IOP, does the stabilization program, or is it parallel with those programs, or is it after?
I think it depends on the individual. They could probably get involved and then get them engaged in PHP. I'm thinking more PRP, not PHP, because we don't have a PHP program, which is a partial hospitalization program in the
Which is
midshore.
part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah, so
Everything's
we don't
in
have PHPs in the midshore.
Well, Jim's
But we
working on
have PRP programs, which are primarily for our adult population. But programs like Healthy Transitions and our wraparound services through Wraparound Maryland, who provide 1915I services, which is like a very enhanced case management model. All those referrals are happening out of the mobile response and stabilization services. That's their responsibility, to engage them if they're not. But PHP we don't have. Maybe someday.
Maybe. Any other questions?
We really appreciate you.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And always happy to come back, but we might be asking to come back before next year, just to
Who knows?
keep you informed. So thank you.
Please.
Thank you.
Take care.
Very much.
Sure.
And this proclamation will take place on June 13th. Teacher of the Year.
Oh, really?
Had to be moved
Because?
because she is attending the Kent Island High School varsity lacrosse game as we speak. That's how committed and dedicated she
And
is
they're
a
going to
teacher.
win, right?
I hope so.
That's the plan.
Hope so.
All right, Commissioners, we can move into new business next. We have 13 action items and 1 desktop item for tonight. So if you want to turn to tab number 3, we can get started with those. First, we have the annual draft CTP letter, I believe, is first up. This is the annual letter we send to the Secretary of MDOT outlining our priorities for the Maryland Consolidated Transportation Plan for the coming year. This is very similar to earlier years, and our public facility planner, Steve Cahoon, is here in the audience, so he can maybe come up and answer any questions about this, but I'll provide an overview of this year's version of our letter.
Sure. As Todd had mentioned, it's very similar to past years. The priorities remain the same. Transportation planning, it takes many, many years to get things in place. So generally, our letters have remained the same over the last 10 years. Our number 1 top priority is dealing with Bay Bridge congestion and continuing to have the NEPA study moving forward, which it is. They're in Tier 2 of the NEPA process now. They're about 8 months into that process, and there's about another 3 years to go in that process. But the NEPA process is an essential step to any future bay crossing or adding any additional capacity. That's been our top priority for many years and continues to be the top priority this year.
This is the one going into Dorchester County you're talking about?
I will make a motion, but I'd like to interject the word insanity in here, because isn't that the definition, doing the same thing over and over again with the same result? Because that's about what this is every year, sadly. 8 years, these are still the same things that were on here 8 years ago, save for the fact that we're trying to get the at-grade intersections fixed.
Can we add 405 to that?
I move to approve and execute the 2023 priority letter to the Maryland Department of Transportation.
I think it's in there.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Appreciate everything you do. All
Well, I
those in favor-
appreciate you, Steve, I just don't like
Yeah.
the state.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
I get what
honest.
you're saying, yeah. That's out of our control, but, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Great. Thank you, we'll send it off.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, item 2 on pages 6, 7, and 8. This is our noxious weed cooperative agreement. This is our annual agreement between Maryland Department of Agriculture for the control and eradication of noxious weeds here in Queen Anne's County, primarily on public rights-of-ways.
I move to execute the cooperative agreement with the Maryland Department of Agriculture for the control and eradication of noxious weeds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a quick question, really. So how do you go about, how do we identify these and how do we prioritize them, I guess, would be the question, Todd? I mean, in terms
Johnson
of
Press.
where we do it. Well, no, I know what they are, but like, do we
Fragmite.
concentrate on certain areas each year when we're doing this? Or we just go where we get a call and say, hey, this is horrible, like Fragmite is horrible, Johnson Grant's horrible, or how do we do
We
it?
get reports. We have a weed control coordinator. He's assigned a vehicle and equipment, and he goes out and finds the, areas that's reported to us in the public rights-of-ways. Also, we work cooperatively with State Highway if they have noxious weeds in their rights-of-ways, and we get a fee. They pay us for the eradication and spraying of those noxious
There's real no
weeds.
investigative process into where we're having
No.
a lot of issues. Is that something that the
See
state has
something,
thought
say
about?
something.
Well, I'm just saying, is that something the state has thought about or even talked about over the years? It's like, we know, we go back to the same spots every year, and it's like, eradication means you got rid of it, and apparently we're not doing that because we keep going back to the same spots, right?
I couldn't tell
Well,
you.
I'm sure it also has a lot to do with when you can actually cut them down, because if they've gone to seed, the last thing you want to do is cut them down, because all that's going to do is spread the seed.
I don't think
So
they
there's
cut
a
'em, they
time
just spray 'em,
frame in a
right?
year
Oh, I get
which is
it,
best
but
to
I think we're smart
eradicate.
enough here we should be able to figure that out. We got a lot of scientists and Hopkins and things like that around here that we could.
I think we do pretty well in the county rights-of-ways and the state rights-of-ways. It's the private properties. We don't manage that,
And
but
in
we
the
do get
critical
calls.
areas,
Yeah.
and the critical areas and all, that's where you hear, I get people asking me, hey, why don't you guys take care of these weeds in my backyard? It's like, but it's in the critical area, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering how far the state extends itself into those. I mean, if they call.
That's more specifically Phragmites and
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, yeah. But if they called, if a homeowner was to call, would they call the county, DPW to try to
Yes,
report it?
yes.
Okay.
They would call the county Public Works. It's centered in Public Works now, our weed control coordinator
Okay.
office, yes.
All right, let's see here. We're voting to move to execute the cooperative agreement with the Maryland Department of Agriculture for the control of eradication of noxious weeds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item 3 on pages 9 and 10 is the stormwater pond maintenance tree removal contract for the Kent Island High School. And this is a contract, sealed proposals were received for this stormwater pond maintenance. It involves removing the woody vegetation and trees within the surrounding stormwater ponds in front of the high school. We received, looks like 6 bids ranging from $78,900 up to $268,440. And I believe staff is recommending Integrity Tree Service, who submitted the lowest responsible and responsive local vendor bid.
Good Lord.
So we're gonna remove all the trees around that pond out by the entrance at the Kent Island High School? But
Both
backs up to the ball
Both
field?
Actually,
yeah.
both sides.
Yeah. And this is part of
Come
the
on, Lee.
MS4 program, so Lee can give you a little more detail
It's
about
just like
the
in Mattapique, I
project.
think we cleared everything out of that pond.
That's
Right.
totally different looking now.
Yeah, that's right. With Mattapique, we did. The original plan was just to remove them from immediately in and around the ponds, but we received such positive feedback with regard to the appearance of that parcel and everything that we extended the removal of the trees further out toward Route 8 and such. For the Kent Island sites, we're looking at just inside the pond and on the banks so as to preserve the integrity of the pond banks, the outfall structures, and within about 20 feet perimeter of the pond. So that'll provide adequate maintenance access going forward.
So are you gonna, everything will be gone inside the fence?
Yes, inside the fence and about 20 feet out. That'll
All the way out
provide.
to the trail? Everything will be
Yeah,
gone
the
to
trail that goes between the pond and the baseball outfield.
Yep, all
Now,
gone.
is that a stormwater pond?
It is a stormwater
I
pond.
mean, but it seems like it's always a capacity, so stormwater in, stormwater out, or no, that's not the case? I mean, there's no percolation there, it's not,
Stream.
No, that one's designed as a wet pond, so
Okay.
it provides water quality by having that, standing water. There's a certain freeboard, so it does provide some quantity control.
Okay.
But the standing ponding water is there to provide the water quality element.
not all the heavy metal sink to the bottom.
It's just, yes.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Okay. No. And we'll make a motion here, and
Can the community take some of the wood?
What's that?
Can some of the folks living down there take some of the wood if they want it?
Take
From
some of the
trees?
water?
Wood,
Oh, some of
wood.
the wood. We structured the bid so as to.
Tree company keeps it.
Make it, that's right.
A lot of
That
money.
it's your responsibility, take it out.
Yep.
And that's part of the price.
There's a contractor, they own it.
yeah, there are not many huge trees in there, is there? Look like 15,
There-
20 years.
Not tremendously old, it's
Yeah.
about right, yeah.
Right.
Really hasn't been touched in about 15, 20 years, so that's what we're looking at.
I move
They
to
leaving
award
the
the
stumps or
stormwater
taking
pond
the
maintenance,
stumps
tree removal at Ken Island High School contract to Integrity Tree Services LLC of Queenstown, Maryland, in the amount of $78,900, and authorize the Director of Public Works to issue the notice of award and execute the contract on behalf of the County Commissioners.
Second.
So there's a huge disparity between Integrity Tree Service and Economy.
Yes.
Wow.
Right, there is. So, as is in many cases, if we have a significant spread, we'll reach out to some of the bidders to understand why. First and foremost, we always reach out to the low bidder and say, hey, are you comfortable with your price, right? In Integrity Tree, they are local, as you can see here in Queenstown. The fella indicated that he's very excited about this project, and he priced it accordingly. He has some availability right now, and it aligns very closely with his schedule and our schedule, trying to get this work done while school is out of session. So he priced this very competitively because he has a need to fill his calendar at this time, and I believe he'd like to have some experience with the county.
Right.
Economy Tree, and in fairness, he did tell us ahead of time when he attended the pre-bid meeting that he's extremely busy right now. And the note was that, submit a bid, but with the anticipation that he wouldn't be getting it, but to put something out there, and his price reflects his availability.
Okay.
Are they taking the stumps out as best they can?
They will be doing some where they're around structures. The remainders of the stumps will remain.
Well, it would be like the
Can't-
stadium
can't
where the
play
San
golf
Francisco
there.
Giants play baseball. Sometimes they hit the ball out over the fence and into the bay. Yeah, they'll be hitting them into the pond.
You'll be out there in your raft?
In my kayak,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
We're doing this for you, Phil, you know that. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Because I can assure you, there'll be some folks that'll be upset that we cut the trees around the pond.
That's true. It's going to open it up. All right, well,
All
any other
those in
discussion?
favor?
Excuse me?
Nothing.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Lee.
Hey, thank you for your help with the burn,
Oh, you're very welcome.
Carmichael.
That turned out all right?
As we speak, it should go out about 7 o'clock.
Okay. Well, very
Started
good.
Sunday, and it's been smoldering for 2 days. So, but that's what they wanted. So I appreciate your help with that.
No, absolutely,
Thank you.
as always. Thank you all.
All right, Commissioners, our next item, item 4, is the Bay Bridge Run 2023 MOU with the Maryland Transit Administration, MDTA, and we have this negotiated with Corrigan Sports Enterprises to facilitate the 2023 Bay Bridge Run on November 12th, 2023. So last year we had over 16,000 runners, and we hope to improve upon that this year. So that's here for your consideration. Heather Tonelli is here. She was working with Corrigan Sports and MDTA to facilitate this agreement. Going forward.
I move that we approve and sign the MOU between MDTA and the Queen Anne's County that will allow Queen Anne's County to facilitate the Bay Bridge Run event on November 12th, 2023. And I have on good information. Second. I have it on good information that there will be more runners this year already. Yep.
That means you're running?
Oh, no, not plus last year's +1. No, I mean a lot more than they had last year.
Good,
Yeah, the race director had a chance to talk to him
very good.
last week. Yeah, so they're very happy with the numbers. Heather, you want to come up and share any intel you have? You could say, no, I don't want to, but.
No, I can't.
Oh, you're at a gag order?
No, it's fine. So the bridge race, as Todd mentioned, is November 12th, 2023. Last year, they had 16,000 participants. They're expecting close to 20,000.
Good.
Our emergency services leads up the whole thing, and they put a lot of time and effort into that and I know Beth attends as well. They have monthly meetings leading up to make sure that they collaborate with the Western Shore and the Eastern Shore. We also meet with Corrigan on a regular basis to try to drive participants to stay in our hotels and eat at our restaurants and spend lots of money. So last year we put out some additional marketing dollars to do just that. But it is our goal to try to get them to stay. The downside is it falls the same weekend as the Waterfowl Festival.
In Easton?
Yes, but that's completely out of Corrigan's hands. They really have to look at what works best for the bridge.
I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be, we're gonna.
They'll complement each other.
Yeah. I mean, that's early in
You
the
know,
morning.
you go to the
you're
Waterfowl
done.
Festival
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday, and then you do the Bridge Walk on Sunday.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the traffic last year, I can't speak to that too much because I was there, working the event, but it does seem to clear out in time. So for those that are at the Waterfowl Festival and headed back home, it doesn't seem to really affect the traffic. But we're excited about it. I mean, you think that's a significant event, and then we have the Bay Bridge Boat Show, which is also a significant event. So those are our two big events that we have here, and we need to work really hard, meaning me, to make sure that people stay here, eat here, spend their money here, and then come back again next year and do that. That's really it I had to share.
8,000 runners.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been a very successful event. We've done a great, I mean, believe it or not, we've started the safety meetings already, so it's logistically, it's a very challenging event, and our emergency services staff and Heather and her team do a great job at facilitating that and
Who's
getting people
catering
to
this
come
year in
in.
that VIP tent? I don't want to see no brown bags.
Todd did mention that to them, that they need to step up their game when it comes to that, because we'd like to see more local vendors, so we try to work on that side as well.
Slowly almost puts us back where we were before. 'cause
Yeah.
We were
When
21,000
Ironman
is the
had- when
most.
Ironman had it.
Well, no, before that. The biggest one was when Sparrow and them had it. We had
Yeah.
21,000 that one year, so that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
We get back up next year, maybe we'll surpass
Well, and I
it.
think part of that was too, it died a slow death when the bridge was actually running it. And wasn't a race, it was so much as just the bridge walk.
Bridge walk.
And then when it went away because it wasn't cost effective and was reborn in the private sector, people were just ecstatic to be able to. It's a great event, there's no doubt.
It's great to see it return as quickly as it did because of COVID and then bridge construction, so there's a few years we didn't
Yeah.
have it. We have a new operator who's very strong as far as our organization, so it's going to be a great year.
I think Margie's gonna go ahead and fund the VIP tent out of her budget.
We should not have to do that for sure.
Not with what she just spent this last 2 weeks.
No. Poor Margie.
I mean, repainting and here and,
All right, so this is executing the memorandum of understanding. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? So moved.
As always, thank you, Heather.
Yes,
Yes, thank Heather. All right, Commissioners, now we can move into our series of budget amendments. So perhaps our Director of Budget and Finance, Nicole Heffer, would come up here for a few of these. So item 5 is the first one, page 19, budget amendment CC 47. This is for the detention center, and this amendment actually removes budget authority in the amount of $2.5 million from the project for that facility. This is to recognize grant funding that was never received back in FY '20 for that project.
Move to approve budget amendment CC 47.
Second?
So we thought we were getting some sort of matching funds, so we had to put our money in? I mean, I guess I'm a little confused because we're removing it. Is that what it was?
Each year, we put forth a budget for construction dollars based on, where we are in the process, and then the state matches that with
Correct.
50%. So we don't get the state grant money until such time as we get the project started. We actually have to spend their money after we spend all the county money first on the construction phase. So it's just something that was budgeted, it was put in the capital plan. It wasn't realized, so we didn't lose any grant money, we just haven't received it, so we don't recognize it in the budget
So
at this time.
where does the
In budget.
$2.5 million go? In that little dark closet somewhere?
It's still over there in the state coffers, and they'll provide it when the time
We spend
comes.
state's
Yeah.
money first.
Line item for the
No, we
state.
started ours.
Ours first and then the
Was
state's
this
money.
our money or their money?
No, that was the state's money.
Placeholder for the state money,
It's
basically.
placeholder.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
It's
Yeah.
in that little
Yeah.
grant funding
That's
column
right,
for.
yeah.
And we had a meeting with Budget and Management and corrections, state corrections, about our
Dilemma.
plan to go to EPRU. So they're supportive of that. They agreed that they're still going to be, the funding will be there for us when we're ready to do that. So that's kind of unfolding as we speak now, as far as moving the site to the EPRU site. So they're very supportive of that and intrigued by the regional concept as well.
All righty, so this is a motion to approve CC 47. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Budget Amendment CC 48, this is for the South Kent Island Sewer Project. This is for the second phase of Phase 2, which is for the step tanks down there in Tower Gardens. And we just have to increase the budget authority to provide for that phase of the project. And this is, through state loans and then recouped through the special benefit assessment.
Move to approve budget amendment CC 48 with no additional county dollars required.
Second?
Motion is second. Any discussions?
No county funds, right?
No county funds, yes, that's correct.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Budget Amendment CC 49 is from the Sheriff's Office. This is for a Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention grant for police recruitment and retention program funding. No additional county funds.
Motion to approve budget amendment CC 49 with no additional county funding.
Second.
Have a motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Commissioners. I see Heather's still here for these next two. This Budget Amendment CC 51 is for the Economic Development Training, and this is to transfer funds from the revolving loan fund that were transferred to the grants fund back over to the EDIF of $240,000 for the EDIF program in the future.
I move to approve budget amendment CC 51 with no additional county funding required.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this topic?
You guys know what this one is, right? This is the one we approved to go to the college that we never used.
Right.
Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. And Budget Amendment CC 52 is the revolving loan fund, and this was the request to transfer the available balance of $472,272 in the revolving loan fund to the Economic Development Incentive Fund to be used for grants and loans to outside businesses.
I move to approve Budget Amendment CC-52
Second.
Additional county funding.
with no additional county funds being needed.
Second?
This was the second. Any discussion here? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
So just a point of order, what are we up to now? What does that get our total to?
What's
Are
that?
we
What-
at a
Have you been
million?
doing the math? What are you up to now?
$12,842.
That's six, and there's about six plus or minus, so there's 190,000 in there now, so we just need about 230-something thousand to get us to $1 million.
Okay.
We're almost there.
Which is in the budget.
Which is in the FY '24 proposed
You know, if
budget.
that VIP tent's good, you might get to that $1 million.
I'm thinking a little seafood,
Come
a little
on.
Italian.
Yeah, taste of the shore there, come on.
Oh, seafood.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. The next one is Item number 10 on page 24 is Budget Amendment CC 53. This is for the Fire and EMS Commission, and this establishes additional budget authority for the LoSAP and life insurance expense for that program.
Move to approve Budget Amendment CC 53.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion here? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. This next one is Budget Amendment CC 54 for the Roads Department on pages 25 through 29. And this is to reclassify budget authority for the Roads Department from the general fund to a new separate fund for the Roads Board. This is how it used to be set up back when we had exclusively used highway user revenues for the roads budget. We put it over in general fund when that dropped off, and now our accountants are saying that, and our auditors are saying we really need to keep that in a separate fund like it used to be. So Cole can maybe explain a little bit more detail if you like, but that's essentially what we're doing. We're just putting the roads division back in a separate fund like sanitary district.
This is a compliance issue, right? Because we were not compliant prior, right?
Right. We did, submitted a budget amendment for FY '22 when we were closing out the year, and that was approved. And then it just took us some time. So this is for FY '23, and then in '24, it's set up correctly in a separate fund. So this would be the last budget amendment for this issue that you would see.
Right. And the HURs go right to them.
It would go to the special revenue fund set up for roads.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Who wants to make a motion?
I move to approve Budget Amendment CC 54.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item number 12 on page 30 is Budget Amendment CC 55 for the Commissioner's Office, and this budget amendment establishes additional budget authority in the Commissioner's Office to cover office supplies, expenses, meetings, conferences, and salaries and benefits due to the transfer of a position from Community Affairs over to the Commissioner's Office.
I move to approve Budget Amendment CC 55, which has no net effect on the budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion?
It's the new person, Jim. I've already asked a question.
Okay,
We're just transferring somebody over, so.
okay. So nobody wants to ask any questions?
The other,
You're the only one that's going to be
I
mean to
can
Mark.
point something out if you want more information. Okay.
He's the only one.
I'm going to be homeless again to come Ocean City, Mako. I got that feeling, huh, Margie?
Oh, Jim, your room wasn't ready.
Did you want a room?
thought the dumpster was bad. Wait till you see what you get this year.
I'm going to get a new picture on the door with the dumpster. Yeah.
It won't even be a dumpster, Jim. You won't even have a dumpster now.
Staying at the Flamingo Motel.
Their dumpster. It's way worse than the Dunes dumpster.
All right, well, we're going to vote on CC
55.
55. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Ms. Halk over there for helping with that budget amendment. All right, our last budget amendment is CC 56. This is for the Sheriff's Office Port Security Grant, and this amendment adds grant revenue along with corresponding expenditures in relation to the Port Security Grant, which is for federal securities, awarded to the Sheriff's Office in the amount of $18,830.
I'm going to motion to approve Budget Amendment CC 56 with no additional county funds requested.
I will second that.
But I just want to know which port we're guarding.
What port we're guarding?
Guarding.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure it doesn't
I think
mean
that's
that, but
just
it's
the
just
name of the
look at
grant.
The port, our big port up there at Ferry Point, is that the one? Or-
Well, the one with all the supplies come in.
Port Kent Narrows.
Is that what it is? I think
Okay.
of Port Authority, I think of Baltimore City, that port, you know, it's a big port, but, okay.
We'll bring the cranes in.
Why not?
So you had a motion and you had a
Yeah,
second.
you got to go ahead and vote on that
All
one.
in favor?
I don't know. Port security, okay. All right, all those in favor of CC 56 signify saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Our port is secure.
Finally.
Thank God.
Land's End.
You can tell we're
Thank
almost
you.
at the end of the budget process because
And we didn't have any.
we're getting a little silly.
You waited a long time, right? Not to say anything.
All right,
Do we
Commissioners.
want to,
Thank you.
That's all the budget. We have one desk item, a proclamation, if we can.
Building safety month.
No, we're waiting, that's the teacher of the year, we're waiting on that.
No,
one.
building safety month.
Oh, Jack's got
Yeah,
it.
we have proclamation 2331 for May is Building Safety
Building
Month.
safety, right.
Building Safety Month. That was a desktop item.
Yeah, it was unanimously voted that Jack would read this proclamation because he is in the construction industry.
Yeah.
Proclamation 2331, whereas Queen Anne's County is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others, and electricians, in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated professionals who are experts in the building environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is a way to recognize our dedicated professionals and remind the public about the critical role of these dedicated protectors of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas it starts with you, in quotes, the theme for Building Safety Month 2023 encourages all of us to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas in observance of Building Safety Month, we want to acknowledge the essential service provided to all by these dedicated individuals in protecting lives and property. And now therefore, the County Commissioners of Queen Anne's County do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Building Safety Month in Queen Anne's County and encourage our citizens to join us as we celebrate Building Safety Month. Signed, your Queen Anne's County Commissioners.
Very well.
I read it wrong.
Okay. Okay.
That is all the action items we had tonight, Commissioners. Thank you very much. We do have one piece of legislation, if you want to flip over to tab 7. This is the citizen-sponsored text amendment number 23-02 for bonus provisions in the WVC, the Waterfront Village Center District. It was sponsored by Jamals of Kent Narrows, LLC. And this will be for introduction and the scheduling of a public hearing.
I'll introduce it.
Okay. Commissioner Dumino, thank you. All right, so that is all we have for action. We can do press and public comments, roundtable, and we have the constant yield hearing for the proposed FY 2024 budget scheduled for 7 p.m.
I say we knock out roundtable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you want to do,
We have to roundtable.
Press and public comment
Roundtable.
do you have anybody for press and public?
Oh, we do?
We have one person waiting for in Zoom, Gina. If you could please unmute, and then you can ask your question or make your comment.
Gina, you are live.
Hi guys, how we doing?
Good. Good. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Gina, and just wanted to make sure, I had a question on the action with the Camp Island storm pond maintenance. Just wanted to make sure that the tree companies that are awarded this bid would be Maryland licensed tree experts.
We
I
don't
believe
take
that's a
questions.
priority or requirement of the request for proposal.
I'd have to,
Proper licensing.
yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the bid specifications, but I'm sure that they're qualified to do the work. And it was an open bid opportunity for anybody that was licensed and qualified to do provide those services.
Well, I believe that it wasn't a requirement on the bid documents
for Maryland LT, even though it's required by Maryland law and the DNR.
We'll have to,
Your best bet is to contact the county administrator or the director of public works. We don't do questions and answers at
the public comment section.
comment, so and not to mention, we don't know. So that's a good question. I would suggest you follow that up tomorrow with a call to Public Works or the county administrator.
Awesome. I would appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
That's all I have.
All right, we'll do roundtable. We're going to go backwards now. We're going to go 4. Chris?
Yeah, all right.
Anything, big man?
Congratulations to the graduates for next week, right? I think it's the high school graduation, so congratulations to all of the county graduates. If you dream big, you know, as a county graduate, look where I am now, right?
That's right.
The height of power.
I'm telling you. No helicopter, dude.
Some people actually achieve things.
Yeah.
You know, we appointed someone to the Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board today. We had 2 spaces, and only one person who applied. But we have hundreds of people who complain about the lack of preservation of land and the growth in the county, and they have lots of time to go on social media about that and not the time to apply. So just for those of you who care about it, if you really want to make a difference, we'll be re-advertising for this vacant space. Put your name in there, get on a committee, and do something instead of bitching, because that's just not how things get done. Those who actually take the time to do something, that's how things get done in this county. There are lots of opportunities. So put your name in there instead of just complaining. It's frustrating because we have this with lots of committees that we have where we have to rerun the advertisements, not just for this one, but for other ones, because people aren't applying. And for a lot of these, you can appear in the meetings by Zoom. They're only like quarterly. They're not a huge thing. And then people say, oh, the commissioners never listen. We don't have an opportunity for a voice to be heard. But yet when the opportunities are there, people don't do anything to take advantage of it. Get active. There is opportunities for you. And so that's my my soapbox, because we should have dozens of people applying for the Preservation Advisory Board, and we didn't. So that's it.
Thank you.
Congratulations, graduates, by the way. You can apply also.
Mr. Phil?
Yeah, 3 comes after 4.
In reverse, it does.
Yeah. So I had an opportunity to attend 2 events since all of us had met before. One of them was the plastic-free Queen Anne's County celebration mixer, I guess we would call it, and the success of our shrink wrap recycling program that took place. And there was a lot of folks, you know, that attended the event, and we were able to really, you know, it's a feather in the cap of plastic-free Queen Anne's County and really pushing this program. I want to thank my fellow commissioners again for making the financial commitment to purchase the bags that really helped launch this program. So you guys, you know, played a key part in that. And we're hoping that we're going to get more participation from other marinas next year. I know a lot of people don't think about where that plastic goes in the springtime when the boats get splashed. And so without programs like this, it ends up in our landfills, and we certainly don't want that. And then I also attended the field day at Graceville Elementary School that was put on by Living the Edge Foundation, or Giving the Edge Foundation. Ooh,
Giving it.
I'm going to get in trouble now that I said Living. Giving the Edge Foundation goes to different schools here in our district, and with volunteers, kids that volunteer, most of them from our high schools, and they have these field day activities at our elementary schools. So I got to attend the one at Graysonville. It was a great turnout. The kids had a ball, and it was just exciting. All 3 of my kids went to Graysonville Elementary School, and I brought back some fond memories of the field days that they would have there. But kudos to Bobby Woolley and his crew over there at Giving the Edge, and their efforts to step up and make these programs happen. And then, of course, if we could all just say a silent prayer and good luck for our Kent Island High School men's lacrosse team, who is playing for the state championship. And the first face-off will be at 8 o'clock tonight.
Ooh. Where are they playing?
Stevenson University. Not sure who they're playing, but anyway.
Good.
Go Bucks.
All righty. Patrick, anything?
Oh, he's got a list.
So, busy week, or busy last week. We lost a great man at the Queenstown Volunteer Fire Department, Jimmy Lewis, who's been there for 50 years.
Wow.
and his wife and his children, Jamie and Jeff, are carrying the mantle after their dad. And I'm just so impressed with not just Queenstown, but all of our volunteer fire departments. And I know you guys are too. And I know, Phil, you talk a lot about it. But it was a sad event. But at the same time, he's in a better place with our Lord. And it was just good to see a lot of fire folks come out in support. And to your point about yesterday was a rough day for the Centerville Police Department, as we lost a hero police officer, and just keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. On Sunday, I went to the Fisher Manor reopening of the library, which is under the Housing Authority, and Commissioner Billups spoke. And they've done an incredible job in this library. They had to remove mold, and by the way, it was kind of spearheaded by the Rotary and some of the folks there and some of the folks in the Housing Authority. But there's a company on Kent Island that donated 4 computers, and the librarians went in and cleaned out the books, and it's really quite impressive what the Rotary's done under the leadership of Jim and Brad Lundenberg. So, and what's amazing, as Doug Bishop told me, is Mr. Fisher, who was around in the 30s, 40s, 50s, he donated the land for the Fisher Manor, and there were like 12 families from the Fisher family that were there, and his daughter was there to accept the plaque. Well, Mr. Bishop told us that Mr. Fisher was one of the first African American folks to run for public office in Queen Anne's, and he was a Republican. And I reminded him that Jackie Robinson was a Republican, and Harriet Tubman, and Frederick Douglass. So we have a proud tradition of the Republican Party in Queen Anne's County. And way to go for the graduates, and that's great about the lacrosse team.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go lacrosse.
Hopefully we wake up tomorrow morning with state champions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jack?
Well, you guys really touched on a lot of them. Didn't leave much there. A lot of meat on that bone. No, obviously it's that time of the year. We just read our proclamation last night for boating safety, so I encourage everybody with Memorial Day weekend coming up, the long weekend, and a lot of people are going to be out on the water. Probably starting tomorrow for the Blue Angels flying for the Naval Academy graduation. So everybody, encourage you to heed the boater safety. Go a little easy on the alcohol till you get to shore, but have fun over the holiday weekend. And again, Queen Anne's County, Kent Island, I'll be there next, Wednesday, Thursday, I think, for the graduation. Haven't missed one except in the COVID year where they decided to put them both on the same day. So looking forward to that. I will officially watch the last Smith walk across the stage, which that's an accomplishment. To see all 6 of them graduate, that's, you know, you've been around a while. But anyway, yeah, so, good luck to our graduates. You know, we do produce a lot of kids. We have a great graduation rate here. We've got a great school system. Once again, support them this year budgetarily, so hopefully have the same results next year.
Awesome. Yep, I'll keep it short and sweet. Just wish everybody a happy Memorial Day, and to all those veterans out there, thank you, and be safe. I mean, it is the beginning of the summer season, and last 2 days ago, we had a little bit of taste of the traffic, and don't get caught up in the madness. You'll get there. Be patient, because there's a lot of people that don't live in Queen Anne's County that are on these roads, and they're not so patient. So stay safe.
So on that note, thank you, Jim Rand, for your service to the United States Marine Corps.
Right in that. All right. We have to adjourn, or we just have to?
Just take a recess.
Yep, all right. We'll be 12-minute recess. Boom.
Bring it to order and forget, there we go.
All right, we're going to bring this meeting back to order.
All right, Commissioners, next on the agenda this evening is the annual constant yield FY24 budget proposal and presentation. So first, we identify this as the constant yield hearing, and this public hearing for May 23rd tonight at 7 p.m. is established for the purpose of receiving public comments on the constant yield tax rate. The county intends to maintain its current tax rate of 83 cents per $100 of assessed value instead of the constant yield rate of 81.2 cents per $100 of assessed value. This will result in $1,578,473 of increased real property tax revenues. Accordingly, the respective legal advertisements have been placed in the newspaper of record in the county, and the county commissioners intend to set the tax rate and adopt the FY24 budget on June the 13th in the county commissioners hearing room right here, 107 North Liberty Street at approximately 6:45 p.m. Okay? So I have a short presentation. This is very similar to last evening's presentation. This is our Queen Anne's County Commissioners FY24 proposed budget. So we will run through this, and then we can open it up for public comment. Okay, so the introduction to the FY24 budget is to commissioners wish to continue to provide sound financial management and deliver responsible public services to our residents. Our budget reflects the recommendations from our Spending Affordability Committee, which include compliance with our policies on debt management, maintenance of a healthy rainy day and revenue stabilization fund, use of our fund balance and PAYGO funds to reduce proposed capital debt, and our budget is consistent with our AAA bond rating, which we are very proud of. Here are two statements from two of the rating agencies that we visit. The first one from S&P Global Ratings. Queen Anne's County demonstrates resilience with our overall credit profile, supported by an active, forward-looking financial management environment. And by Fitch, our AA rating reflects strong revenue growth, manageable expenditure growth, and demonstrates an ability to reduce expenditures during economic hard times. And I will mention, too, that we have the highest bond rating of any Eastern Shore county, currently at AAA. So a few highlights. Our tax rates will remain the same in are proposed to remain the same in FY24. As I mentioned earlier, we are proposing an 83 cent per $100 of assessed value for the property tax rate. The income tax rate will be also remain constant at 3.2%. Our budgeted growth from FY23. FY23 we had $171.4 million budget. FY24 is coming in at $183.6 million. Our revenue stream is derived from income tax and property tax, which makes up 88% of our total county revenue sources. Our income tax revenue is projected to grow by 16.7% from FY23, and our property tax revenue is projected to grow by 5.6% over FY23. I mentioned the constant yield statement earlier, but the constant yield rate represents the real property tax rate for the upcoming year that will generate the same amount of revenue that was generated in the current year in FY23. So as assessments increase, the constant yield tax rate decreases. FY24 constant yield rate again is 81.2 cents per $100 of assessed value, and the constant yield rate is slightly lower than the current tax rate as proposed at 83 cents. The current tax rate results in a revenue which is 1.5 million more than the constant yield rate would otherwise generate. This next slide shows a graphic representation of the tax rate for property across all of the Maryland counties and Baltimore City. The yellow bar near the lower end of the scale there is Queen Anne's County. We are now the third lowest property tax rate in the state. We did lower taxes slightly last year, so we are happy to say we are the third lowest currently in the state of Maryland. Now we'll talk about a few budget highlights. First, Board of Education. We funded the Board of Education at $4.8 million above the FY23 allocation as prescribed by the blueprint for Maryland. the Kerwin Commission via the state legislation that was passed for the blueprint. The budget also includes funding for employee recruitment and retention actions, cost of living adjustments, and pay for performance. We have funding for a variety of new full-time positions in the county. The theme this year is succession planning and new positions for new services. So we have part-time positions and full-time positions slated for inclusion in this budget for the Department of Emergency Services, the Detention Center, Public Works, our Parks Department, the Roads Division, our Department of Aging, where we're expanding services at the new Active Adult Center and Senior Center YMCA, Animal Services, Information Technology for cybersecurity, Planning and Zoning, and our Sanitary District, the Water and Sewer Division. We've also included LoSAP funding, which is the retirement program, and an allocation increase for our volunteer fire department and service providers at the volunteer fire departments. We have funding forward towards the Economic Development Incentive Program, county internship opportunities via the human resources through various departments, library enhancement funding, and we've slated $6.4 million in PAYGO funding to be put towards our capital projects this coming year. This next slide just shows a graphic representation of our overall total county budget for FY24. As I mentioned earlier, property taxes and income taxes make up the bulk of that, and the red sector to the left and the blue sector show that property tax and income taxes come in at 44% each, which is the lion's share of our revenue streams. This next slide shows the actual dollar figures for the revenues that we show on the previous pie chart. Leading off at the top there, you can see real and personal property taxes, income taxes lead the way. Midway down, the other big revenues include recordation taxes and transfer taxes. They come in at roughly $10 million total between recordation and transfer taxes. Okay, this next slide is a similar pie chart showing how the expenses are allocated by function. As you can see, the blue sector is the largest sector. That is for education. That comes in at 38%. That's followed by public safety, the purple sector near the bottom at 6 o'clock. Public safety at 11%. Public Works comes in at 7%. And then we have a group of other agencies, which include the sheriff, the state's attorney, elections, Chesapeake College, coming in at 16% over there at 9 o'clock. All right, this next series of slides shows the numerical values of the budget for proposed FY24 as shown in the previous pie chart by area. So first we have the County Administration Group, which includes the County Commissioner's Office, the Budget and Finance, Information Technology, Human Resources, to name a few. That comes in at $9.3 million in FY24. Next is Community Services. That includes our Department of Aging, Housing and Community Services, and our Local Management Board, coming in at just under $4 million, followed by Planning and Zoning at $2.6 million. Our next group is Public Safety, which includes our Detention Center and Emergency Services. That comes in at just under $21 million for FY24, followed by Public Works, which has a variety of divisions, including Animal Services, Engineering, General Services, Roads, and Solid Waste. That comes in at $13.5 million. Parks and Recreation, which includes the airport and the golf course, comes in at $6.3 million. And then the subtotal for general county government, as we call that, at $56.4 million, which is a 6.7% increase over FY23. All right, the next group on this sheet shows the Board of Education. The Board of Education is the single largest allocation that we have, $68.885 million, which is about a 7.5% increase over fiscal 23. And here is the listing of all the outside agencies that I mentioned earlier that we fund fully or partially, including State's Attorney, Sheriff's Office, Orphans Court, our FEC, Chesapeake College, the Free Library System, Board of Elections, Health Department, Social Services. Then we have a few debt service accounts for the Board of Education. This is broken out by Board of Education and general county government as well. This actually has gone down by 3.2%, coming in at $12.7 million for FY24. Then lastly, we have a few other intergovernmental accounts for insurances, other post-employee benefits, local grants that we provide to various groups, and contingency funds. That's $16 million overall, giving us a total general fund budget of $183,565,544, which is a 7.1% increase in the county budget overall. So next we'll talk about a few budget enhancements that we have. First, again, we'll talk about the Board of Education. We funded the Board of Education actually $6 million over the enrollment-based maintenance of effort calculation certification level, yielding a total operating allocation of over $9,000 per student. Our volunteer fire companies, we funded them with $688,000 additional for increases in the LOSAP retirement program and voluntary emergency services allocations. Our economic development group, we funded at $324,000 for the Economic Development Incentive Fund program for our local businesses and a satellite visitor center at the Queenstown outlets. Our detention center, we included $282,000 for additional correctional officers and a chief of operations position for continuation of our succession planning at our detention center. Department of Emergency Services was funded $264,000 for 3 additional positions in administration and special ops, and also an enhancement to transfer a part-time fire marshal position to full-time. Our library received $216,000 for merit increases, cost of livings increases, and a part-time IT specialist and a part-time facilities clerk or mobile library administrative assistant. Department of Aging, just shy of $100,000 for additional programming related to the Active Adult Center at the YMCA, which is scheduled to be opened October of this year, and a variety of smaller enhancements for other departments, including the Animal Services Group, the Chesapeake College, our local extension services, human resources for the internship program, and information technology, parks, sanitary, and soil conservation service positions for succession planning. Now moving into our capital budget highlights, we have $53 million overall in the capital budget, which includes money for the detention center renovation and expansion at $12.5 million. And I will say that that project will probably be delayed because we've got another opportunity for a different site north of Centerville on the old former Eastern pre-release camp. So there may be some additional planning and time delay before we actually break ground for that original project to renovate the existing detention center. We have $6.4 million funded for roads capital for our continuation of our systematic replacement and overlays of roads and parking lots and bridge maintenance throughout the county. Board of Education was funded at $6.4 million for the new central office, which will be constructed across from the Queen Anne's County High School. The Kent Island High School roof replacement, the current central office building envelope and fire alarm replacement system. Plus, we have an additional $900,000 in non-reoccurring costs for playground replacements and parking lot resurfacing at the Queen Anne's County High School, which is scheduled for this summer during when school's not in session. Our Parks Department was funded with $3.2 million for the South Island Trail development, additional court work, capital equipment, additional landscaping, and a public sewer extension to White Marsh Park. Emergency Services was funded with $1.7 million for a new ambulance and a new tower at the Route 5301 Apex in the Queenstown area, and radio subscriber replacements and other projects, including cardiac care. Information Technology received $1.9 million in the budget, which is funding for IT infrastructure, our continuation of public fiber expansion, the ERP project, which is our accounting system throughout the county, and cellular service signal expansion at county facilities and our schools. A few additional budget highlights for our capital plan: historic courthouse across the street here, $1 million for ongoing renovations, to ultimately house the Register of Wills and Orphans Court functions. Our volunteer fire companies, we funded $800,000 for purchase assistance for apparatus and facility construction. The ongoing Southern Kent Island Sewer Project, Phase 2, 3, and 4, $5.4 million, which includes Tower Gardens, Queen Anne's Colony, Kentmore, and Bats Neck. We also have a residential water meter replacement project coming in at $3.5 million. That will systematically replace all of our water meters for our customers in Kent Island and Graysonville areas with smart meters. We have a project for a water line extension, the Chester West Water Main, which is an extension of a public water line from Castle Marina Road to the Stevensville Shopping Center to provide services there for fire protection and for potable water to that shopping center. And public landings, we have $500,000 in funding for the Thompson Creek bulkhead and fishing pier improvements at both Mattapique and Roman Coke. So we have a variety of funding sources that we use for the capital budget. They're listed across the top of this spreadsheet. They include PAYGO at $6.4 million, grants at nearly $16 million for various projects, bond funds of $9.5 million, operating funds at $670,000. We are using nearly $12 million in fund balance for the capital plan this coming year. And other funding comes in at $9 million, and that's largely loans and special benefit assessments for the Route 8 sewer project that I mentioned for the South Kent Island sewer extension. All right, this last series of slides, I'm not going to run through these specifically line by line. So this basically is our 6-year capital budget for FY24 through FY29. The first column is all of the projects that we've funded for all of the various county departments and agencies this coming year, followed by 5 planning years. This provides us a window and a look at the capital planning for the next 6 years overall for all the county departments. So this is our kind of our roadmap, and these values in the out years do get moved around. They are changed a bit from time to time to reflect cost increases or decreases and timing when the projects are to occur, but all the departments are represented here, from property management, animal services, the sheriff's office, emergency services, and this is our roadmap into the future. Planning and zoning, information technology, solid waste, Department of Aging, our recreation department, Board of Education. Of course, we have a lot of projects on the horizon for the Board of Education. And our Parks Department, a lot of projects for the Parks Department, and Public Landings, our Bay Bridge Airport, and Roads Division, and lastly, our Water and Sewer Enterprise accounts for public water, public sewer in the service areas. So we're here today. This is May 23rd at the Liberty Building. This is our constant yield hearing. We had a hearing last night at Bayside, and we have the third and final budget hearing at the Suttersville Middle School tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. And we have a final budget workshop scheduled for June the 6th if needed. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be adopting the budget on or before June 13th at about 6:45 p.m. right here in this commissioner's hearing room. So that concludes the very high-level overview of the budget, and we can now receive any public comment. So Commissioner, you want to read the names? Or
Excuse me?
You want to read the names off, or you want me to read them?
Whatever you want.
Okay, all right. All right, so first we have Carolyn Armstrong. So if you want to come up, please state your name and where you live, and then you give us your public testimony, and you have, we'll give you 3 minutes. All right.
I'd like to thank you all for your increase in funding for the Queen Anne's County Library. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the library, and we have, believe it or not, tons of volunteers of all ages saying they would like to work for us on a volunteer basis. So the programs that we'd like to initiate is a teen volunteer corps, and in this this age of mental health for teens, this would be a good group to get involved in. Very meaningful. We also want to reinitiate the readers who go speaker on wheels to read to daycare centers. And I've done that for many years. And the excitement when we come in on our wheels, the kids are so, oh, wow, we're going to have fun. So it's a good program for the residents of the community. And also, we have many plans to initiate these things. The Guys Read program with the Queen Anne's County Public Schools, very important. Often in that program, you can get over the hump of what these guys have decided they didn't like reading. And so it helps that way, and it also helps the schools see that they can use our facilities. We would like to have a coordinator for all the programs, the volunteer programs. You need to have a head and somebody who can coordinate the whole thing, put the volunteers where they're supposed to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so we'd like funding for a full-time volunteer program facilitator. It's very important, I think, to be part of this community in so many ways. And we have expanded with your help. So this will expand us a little bit more, and we appreciate enormously what you've done for us. So this is one little ask, one more little ask, that is full-time volunteer and program coordinator. Thank you very much for all you've done for us.
All right, our next speaker is our superintendent of our Queen Anne's County Public Schools, Dr. Patty Salins.
Good evening, Commissioners. How are you? Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Patty Salins, as you said, I live on Hemsley Drive in Queenstown. And I want to come back tonight. Last night I really focused on above maintenance of effort and the dynamics that we have with the blueprint. But tonight I really want to focus on our capital projects. Our schools are our community, and so making sure that we don't defer maintenance, it's really important. So doing things like the pavement, roofing and things like that, it helps us to keep our facilities in a condition that not only is it conducive for our students and our staff, but it's conducive for our communities to use those facilities as well. And then I'd also like to commend you for working with us to build a new central office. I know that the central office is looked upon as it's only 100 people, but it's 100 people that absolutely make this district better every day. They support our schools, and without them, our schools wouldn't be as good as they are. And they deserve to be in a healthy environment that is conducive to productivity. And so building a new central office is the right thing to do. I fully support it, and I look forward to moving forward and breaking ground soon with you. So thank you for all the support.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Royce Herman.
I'm a short guy. What can I tell you? Most of you guys know me. My name is Royce Herman, and I live here in Centerville. And I am an economist, so I tend to look at things from an analytical standpoint. I want to thank you for holding on the tax rate. Looking at it below the surface, however, the amount of money we're going to be paying each month on our properties is going to increase. So it's kind of a misnomer when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, okay? What this county needs is more business. I don't think any of you will disagree with that one. And we got to focus on that over the next few years. And especially hospitality took a hard hit during COVID, and it is in horrible shape at the moment. And we've lost some key people, and we need to build that back up. And there's a lot of ways of doing it, and as you probably know already, I'm trying to get back on the Economic Development Commission so I can help out with this. And, but that's going to be my focus for the next 3 or 4 years if I have to do it by myself or with the help of Heather and her group. So anyhow, I'm happy with the fact that you held the line on the tax rate. That is definitely a plus in this economy, which is horrible at the moment. And I don't think anybody will argue with that one. And but it's going to get better. All we got to do is, well, I'm not going to go into the politics of it, but it's a tough job, and I know you guys worked hard on it. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Cecilia Mitchell.
Good evening. I printed my name tonight so you could read it. Good evening. I'm Cecilia Mitchell, acting president of the Queen Anne's County Education Association. With me tonight is a member of our executive committee, Stephanie Anthony, who serves as the secretary of our association. Again, this evening we are here to recognize your work to develop our county's budget and increasing funding to our schools, as well as the efforts of our superintendent, Dr. Salins, to make sure that we have a system where people want to work, where it's a great place to work physically and in terms of your professional development. We're here tonight as advocates for full funding of our public schools to benefit our students and the many professionals who comprise our school system. Again, attracting and retaining school employees is dependent on setting budget priorities, as you have, that strengthen the system overall. Your work to enhance funding to our schools is laudable, particularly, as just mentioned, in the current economics challenges that we face. We look forward to partnering with our community leaders to assure that every student acquires the skills and knowledge they need to live as successful citizens of our community. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last individual that signed up is Janet Salazar.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Janet Salazar, the Director of the Queen Anne's County Public Library. I live at 420 Timber Lane in Graysonville, Maryland. Woohoo! And I'm here tonight mostly to thank you for the increase to the library's budget. It was a big increase. We appreciate it. And I appreciate the vision that you all are putting forth for our county and recognizing that the library is a big part of that vision. So thank you. But I would also like to ask for you to reconsider supporting our full-time program volunteer coordinator. So far this year, the library has increased the number of programs we provide by 13%. We haven't even gotten to summer reading yet. So we do a lot of programming. We've also increased the number of outreach events that we go to by 73%. Having someone to coordinate not only those programs, but also all of the volunteers who would like to help us with the programs and events is crucial to our ever-changing operations in the library. This position would allow us to incorporate the many community volunteers of all ages who have expressed interest in helping us. I do appreciate your continued support and investment in our community and our library. These funding requests will allow us to continue to provide high-quality services and programs to our residents and enhance the quality of life in Queen Anne's County. So thank you for your consideration. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, that's all we had that signed up. Is there anybody else that would like to comment? Okay, come on up.
I'm just a local resident of Trish O'Brien, and as I was reading the letter that I got in mail, can you just explain to me the 30% increase for the county commissioners?
I can't hear. I didn't
You
hear.
step up to the mic just a little bit.
I didn't
Excuse me?
hear.
Didn't hear you. So
Can you explain
County commissioners.
it looks like the percentage change from this year to next, the 30% increase, what that covers?
I certainly can if you want to entertain questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah, we transferred a position. If you see on that same sheet, there's a significant decrease in the community affairs group. So we're doing some succession planning with various staff members and positions. So we moved a position from one division to the county commissioner's office. So that's the reason for that big change there. And you can see the corresponding decrease in the, on
did.
that same sheet, yeah.
And I
So
appreciate that.
That was just a movement of a personnel from one group to another.
As I want to become more integral in the county, I'm trying to get to a point where I can ask some questions, maybe. I appreciate
Certainly.
it. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Nope. Yep.
Okay.
All right, this email comes from Allison Wood. Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for your time. My name is Allison Wood. I am the current Program and Marketing Coordinator for the Queens County Library System. In this role, I am responsible for all PR, communications, marketing, graphic design, web development, and social media for the library. I am also coordinating all of our programming, volunteer, and outreach efforts to the best of my ability. As the library has grown and with the expansion and renovation of the Kent Island branch, as well as a new mobile library beginning its routes in the community, it has become apparent that there is a need to have a second person in this department. In FY22, we provided 476 programs with 11,140 attendees through our program's calendar of events. For FY23, we already have provided 540 programs, and we haven't even started our largest event, the summer reading, yet. Our outreach efforts have almost doubled, with the QACL being present or partnering in 26 outreach events this year compared to 15 in FY22. The new role of Program and Volunteer Coordinator will allow us to continue to grow access to literacy in Queens County, as well as expand our partnership and volunteer opportunities. We would like to expand our Guys Read program, providing male volunteer readers to 4th grade male students in all schools in Queens County. We would like to relaunch our Storytime on Wheels program, providing Storytime volunteers in daycare settings throughout our community and offering much-needed early literacy skills to children in home or public daycare settings. Teens in our county need activities to do, and we have heard from many of them that Teen Advisory Committee, allowing teens to volunteer with and through the library for new teen initiatives, would be an incredible asset to our community. We have the resources and materials to implement all these initiatives. Now we need the staff member to manage them. Please reconsider funding this crucial position that will allow the great work at QACL to allow great work the QACL is doing to be expanded upon. Thank you for your time. That's all for digital.
Is there anybody else who wants to speak?
That's it? No?
Okay.
Anybody else who wants to speak?
Already called.
Yep.
That's, is there anybody else that wishes to make any comments this evening?
All right.
All right.
Being none. Any commissioners have any comments?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to speak, since Dr. Salins is kind of changing her topic every night. I'm going to jump in on the, well, just on the future budgets, the challenges. To Royce's point, holding the line on the taxes, that's important to me, and I think it's important to all the commissioners up here. We'd honestly like to lower them. But we're facing some uphill challenges with the future funding of education based on the new state law, to the point where we are going to have to basically in our minds set aside roughly $13 million that's not there now for the next 3 years to 2027 until hopefully, and this is the word, hopefully, the state money we're being promised kicks in. If it doesn't, it's going to be a lot more dire than $13 million, just so everybody in the public is aware of that. There are some challenges coming in the education funding system that is going to put a strain on how we're able to budget. And right now, that's kind of where we got out ahead of it this year. You might see that we funded it over what we had to, but there was a reason, because there is a funding cycle. And anybody that budgets in their home, you don't want to have that one big hit that cripples you. So we're kind of looking out ahead right now to try and get ahead of it so that it's more of a smooth, flat curve versus something where we go off a cliff. So just as you see that, and you're going to hear a lot of conversations over the next year, 3 years, because 2027 is when the big year is in terms of the blueprint funding. So that's all I wanted to add.
Anybody else? Very well. Thank you for coming. Appreciate the input.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.